Um, Hi, and welcome to another bonus video on demand. This one is how to make chocolate pots de creme for two. And this is from the cookbook, Weeknight Cooking with Your Instant Pot by Kristy Bernardo. In tonight's class, I don't know when you're going to watch this, but in the class I'm teaching tonight, Cooking from Frozen, I will be making a couple recipes out of her Cooking from Frozen cookbook, but this one is from Weeknight Cooking with Your Instant Pot. Okay, chocolate pots de creme. And let me get back over here. I've adapted this a little bit because it's, I happen to like the darker chocolate. You could use a combination of milk chocolate. When I've taught this before, folks have said, what about peanut butter chips and milk chips? And you could do all sorts of things. But for this recipe, you'll need an Instant Pot or other electric pressure cooker. I'm using a Duo, a 6-quart Duo here. You will need some ramekins. Happen to have a couple over here. You could also use like a pyrex little food cup. Anything that is safe to go in an oven will be just fine in an Instant Pot, which we're going to talk more about in class number 4, pot in pot cooking. So this is kind of a preview for pot in pot cooking class. Anyway, we need 2 ramekins. You'll need the trivet to put those ramekins on. So I'm going to pop that in there right now. And you will also need, unless you haven't used your Instant Pot at all, you will also need probably a separate ring, because if you've cooked any kind of savory items in your pressure cooker, there's some savory smells that have gotten into your silicone gasket. So I will always use, I have a dessert gasket, and it lives over here by the back door. And it's blue. And I know that I use this for the cheesecake that I'll be making in our last class together at the end of the month. I use it for oatmeal. I use it for things that have a high banana bread, things that have a sweet smell to them. Okay, so you need a gasket. You'll need a whisk. And then I like to make this using 2 different measuring cups. I'm going to put some heavy cream in this one and heat it until the sugar I'm going to add to it dissolves. So I want to heat it in my microwave. So I like to use that's microwave safe. And I like to use this 4-cup glass measure to pour the batter into the ramekins. So I'm going to go ahead and use these. You could use bowls. Bowls will be fine. And then for the ingredients, you're going to need 2 eggs. You're going to need some white sugar. You're going to need a pinch of salt, heavy cream, and chips, and not the potato kind. Today, I'm going to be using some Trader Joe's 72% dark cacao and some Hershey's Special Dark Chips. But milk chocolate, butterscotch, peanut butter, any combination that floats your boat, use that. I'm going to set my chips aside. And I just realized where the spare Tupperware lid is. It was spare Tupperware, and I wondered what that was for. It's for this. Mystery solved. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure out 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream and get that warming in the microwave. You don't want to scorch it, but you want it hot enough to make the sugar dissolve, because that's going to be the heat that's going to melt our chips. And it's super helpful if you have a measuring cup that has 2/3 marks, which I do. That's why I know it's super helpful. All right, you go over there. And I'll add my sugar, 1 tablespoon of sugar to the 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream. And then we're going to heat that until it is dissolved, which I'm going to start with 30 or 45 seconds. Not 4 minutes. Okay. While that is going, I'm going to go ahead and separate 2 eggs. And I paused for a second because I kind of forgot about what the right terminology was for separating an egg. Ah. I used to use this little gizmo. I'll go top down from you. Hi. And we'll get to the side eventually. There we go. I used to use this little gizmo, which is a Tupperware device for separating eggs. You put it over your bowl, you crack your egg into it, the yolk stays in here, the white goes in there. Boop, there you are, everything is fine. But that was before I became a prep cook at an Italian pizza restaurant. And when I did that, one of the first things I did on my first day, like this, was we made creme brulee. And to make creme brulee, the first thing I had to do was separate 16 eggs. So I've cracked it kind of into the shell and then dumped it in my hand, which is sitting over a spare bucket. Bloop. All right. And I do that because if I were to rake the yolk, I would rather get yolk in my, yes, that one. I'd rather get yolk into my whites than get whites in my yolk. Because really you don't want any egg white in there. And that's what I'm going for. Sometimes they slip out very easily. Sometimes they take a little while longer. But I'm just kind of holding it and letting the white slip through my fingers. And then, boop. Now I'm going to wash my hands and get the shells that jumped out of the compost bin into the compost bin. So you need 2 egg yolks. And you've got these spare whites. What could you do with these whites? Well, the simplest thing to do with the white, I think, is if you're making scrambled eggs, to just toss a couple of whites into your scrambled eggs. If you are making an omelet, you could toss the extra whites into an omelet. If you are making, hello, Vincent. Put a pin on that one because that's going a blank on me. So in addition to making more of the eggs that you already have, you can beat these up until they're fluffy and add them into waffle batter to make your waffles fluffier or your pancakes fluffier. Beat them first, make them into soft or stiff peaks, and then fold that into your pancake or waffle batter to make it fluffier. You can beat these and use them to make spiced nuts. If you like spiced nuts, you need something for the nuts to stick, for the spices to stick on the nuts. And that can be, olive oil and maple syrup, or that could be egg whites, depending on what it is that you want to do. So it's another use for egg whites for spiced nuts. You could, if you had a whole bunch of them, you could make pavlovas. That would be very yummy. But we don't need these 2 egg whites. We just need the 2 egg yolks. And my milk is not hot yet. So I'm going to do another 45 seconds. All right. The other thing I'm going to throw in here is a pinch of salt while I'm thinking about it. Okay. And I'll get my measuring cup so I can measure out my chips. Why I'm doing a third of a cup measure when I actually need a half cup measure is around me. Because it's 2/3 of a cup of. All right, you sit over there. Now, let's see how this is. Ah, that's hot but not scorched. Okay, so I'm going to whisk together the 2 egg yolks until they're all beaten up. And then I'm going to pour in slowly this hot milk, hot heavy cream and sugar combination. And I pour that in slowly so it kind of tempers the eggs a little bit. Very slow drizzle. Simultaneously whisking and mostly getting it in there. Only spilling a little bit. Oh, Robert has joined us. All right, now that I've done the whisking, I'll switch to a spatula. And I'm going to scrape out the last of the sugar that's in here. I mean, I know I'm going to have chocolate in here, but I would like this to be as sweet as possible. If you don't want to use sugar, I'm sure that stevia or agave would work with this, although I have not tried it, but I don't know why it wouldn't work. Okay, now I want my half cup of chips, which are going to be both special dark and 72% cacao. And I want a total of a half a cup of that. Robert Barker also wants a total of a half a cup of that. So we'll stir this in and then let it start. Hi there. Let it start melting. Do you want to have chocolate for dessert after class tonight? Chocolate Pots de Creme? Yeah, I'm doing a bonus extra video. So, sure. All right. So we got our chocolate, half a cup of chocolate, and 2 egg yolks, 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream, and a pinch of salt. Now I'm going to stir this. The chocolate's starting to melt. And I'm going to stir this until it's melted and smooth, which will not take very much time. But you just kind of want to get it all nice and stirred, all nice and smooth. And then I will prepare the Instant Pot because we're going to need some water in the pressure cooker to create the steam, to create the pressure, so it'll cook. Almost done. It's sticking on the spatula, but the rest of it's looking good. I think the dogs like to go in and out more for a daytime video than at class, because class is usually when they're in bedtime. All right, now I'm going to switch to the overhead camera, the top-down chop cam, so you can see my work surface. Hello. Go back to that one for programming purposes. There we are. All right, so this has been stirred up. It looks pretty smooth. And I'm going to pour these into these. Actually, what I'm going to do while we are all top down, I'm going to show you how to set up the Instant Pot and how to make the, there we go. Yeah. How to make all the things. Well, this moves a little bit more. Okay. So to prepare my Instant Pot, I've got my trivet, and now I'm going to throw in a cup of water. There's a cup. Just for creating steam. That way I don't have to forget about that after I've got my trivet on there. Fill this up. When you do creme brulee, you want to go, if you have a ramekin with like a little ledge or lip, you want to go about up to the lip so it won't go over. This isn't going to be as what is the word I'm looking for? It won't expand as much as a creme brulee. So that's fine. All right. So we mixed up our 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream, 1 tablespoon sugar, heated those in the microwave until it was very hot but not scorched. And then beat them with 2 egg yolks and a pinch of salt. Poured it in as a slurry. Now I'm just going to lift this up and over into the pressure cooker. Okay, so we're gonna pressure cook this for 6 minutes at high pressure. So for my duo, I want to use pressure cook. It's set at high pressure for 6 minutes. And because I'm gonna let the pressure release naturally, I'm gonna turn off the keep warm by just pushing the keep warm button to make it go down. All right, so while this pot is coming to pressure, and cooking and naturally pressure releasing, I'm just going to pause the video. I will meet you back here when it's all finished. Okay. Okay. We are back. The pots de creme cooked for 6 minutes at high pressure, and then they had a 10-minute natural pressure release. And the button just popped. How did I know it was 10 minutes? Because I had turned the keep warm setting off, because I don't need to keep this warm because I'm trying to cool it down anyway. It was not counting up, so you didn't have that L with the amount of time elapsed since the cooking time finished. So it just went straight to off. So I was just keeping an eye on it on my computer. But it took about 10 minutes. And how long a natural pressure release will take is dependent on a lot of things, actually. It depends on how full your pot is. It depends on how warm your kitchen is. And the cooler your kitchen, the more there's a heat transfer from the pot to the atmosphere surrounding it. So it will cool faster. The more that's in your pot, the fuller your pot, the slower it is for all of that mass of warm to cool down. I know my kitchen is currently 60 degrees. So that is why the 1 cup of water that's in here and the 2 ramekins probably only took 10 minutes to cool down. When I make chai, I have a full gallon of chai in the pot, and that can take 45 minutes to an hour to naturally pressure release and cool down. I could spin it and release the pressure faster, but that would mean probably that some of my chai would be shooting out, and I don't really want to do that. So 10 minutes is fine. Hopefully this is cool enough. Yes, this is cool enough for me to lift it out and over. And then I'll switch to the top downs by going, hey, we went straight to top down. That's cool. All right. So there's a little bit of moisture around the edge here. You can kind of see. And I'm going to take my trusty paper towel and kind of pick up the condensation that hit around the edge. We'll do this in a couple of weeks for the pot and pot cooking class. Do the same thing for cheesecake. And I just kind of touch it Just go around the edge, grabbing that little bit of moisture in the corner of my paper towel. And if you don't do that, it's fine. It's totally fine. It will eventually evaporate because it is a warm custard. I'll grab you and do a little on you. And then I'm going to let these cool a little bit more, like closer to room temperature, and cover them with foil and stick them in the fridge for you to see in actual class tonight, and for me to take the pretty picture that will be on the thumbnail for this video. So we bounce through that one off, yes. And we bounce through this one, A. Okay, so that is how to make Instant Pots de Creme, a pair of them, from the Weeknight Cooking with Your Instant Pot cookbook from Kristy Bernardo. And this has been another bonus recipe video on demand from Kirsten of Farm Fresh Feasts.